Tuesday. The three of them stepped out, still waving, into a bright spotlight. As the noise of the blades died down, the roar grew louder. "Vlad," said Barry, looking up, "can I stand underneath that chocolate fountain with my mouth open? In fact, can I run from one chocolate spray to another with my mouth open?" "Yes, of course," said Vlad. Barry noticed that Vlad was suddenly holding a microphone. "But first of all, let's not forget, you're the guest of honor." "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, speaking into the microphone. His voice boomed out across the room. "Partygoers, Death in the Car 5 fans, please put your hands together for tonight's guest of honor. We, and by we I mean me and Morosina Padada, popularly known as Vlaserina, a brand name which we own and which is not to be used for commercial purposes by anyone else without written submissions to our lawyer, proudly present our new son, Barry." There was another huge roar and another huge round of applause. Barry could see Vlad and Morosina applauding too by his side. Not knowing what else to do, he waved some more, even though his arm was really starting to hurt. This got another huge roar from the crowd, like he'd done something really amazing. He wished he had his scooter, which wasn't a great scooter, just a razor without special stunt handlebars or anything to hand, and then he could have done a flip or something to deserve all that applause. Underneath the noise of the clapping, Barry, still waving, whispered to Vlad, "Can I go and run about underneath the chocolate gun spray now?" Said Vlad. "Yes, I guess so, but first of all, a press conference." "Pardon?" "Hey, Barry." He looked around. About 19 grown-ups had somehow appeared on the roof of the death car, with microphones and notepads and video cameras. "Barry! Barry! Barry! Barry!" Oh, not again, thought Barry. "Barry, what's it like being Vlaserina's son?" It's great." The ones with the pads wrote that down. The ones with microphones nodded. "Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that one day you'd be the son of the most famous couple in the world?" No, I guess not." The ones with pads wrote that down. The ones with microphones nodded. "Are you going to have your own range of perfumes to go along with Stink Bombay?" Yes, I suppose. What's it going to smell of?" Pooh and wee," said Barry. The ones with pads started writing that down, but then stopped and looked a bit upset. The ones with microphones glanced at each other nervously. "Barry will be meeting a number of top designers," interjected Morosina with a smile, "and we're all looking forward to smelling what they're going to create together." "I will?" said Barry. She nodded. "Morosina, can I go and run around, catching the chocolate in my mouth now?" "Of course," she said. "Just one more tiny thing we need you for, and then you can do whatever you want." "Great," said Barry, who by now was worried that the chocolate guns might be about to run out of ammo. "What is it?" Vlad took out a piece of paper from the inner jacket pocket of his white tuxedo. But it wasn't just any old piece of paper. It was like a rolled-up scroll, the sort of thing you see on horrible histories. What was the word? Parchment, that was it. Vlad unrolled the parchment. There was some kind of writing on it. He held it out towards Barry with 2 hands. "We know," said Vlad. "I mean, why would you not? What's not to like? That you're already sold on us. We know you want to be our son. We also happen to know that you agree with us that the name Barry is, well, not quite right for the son of the most famous couple in the world." "It isn't?" "No," said Morosina. "It really, well, it just doesn't work for us." "Doesn't work?" "No," said Vlad. "So what about changing it?" Barry frowned. He didn't quite know what to say, and since it was a question he didn't immediately know the answer to, he dug his hands in his pockets where he felt his list. Now he knew without getting it out that number 2 on his list of things he blamed his parents for, really near the top, was calling me Barry. Another one of his grandpa's phrases from before he lost his memory popped into his head. The bane of his life. That's what his grandpa used to say about all sorts of things that really bothered him. The weather, the queues at the post office, the itchiness of his trousers. They were all the bane of his life. And, for Barry, the bane of his life was being called Barry. It always had been. And yet suddenly he felt nervous about being called something else. He said, "I guess that would depend on what I was changing it to." "Exactly. So we were wondering about... Vlad unrolled the parchment. In the middle was written in huge letters, one word. Barry looked at it for a while, and a while longer, before saying, Barasina? Chapter 8. Yes, said Morosina, as Barry stared at her, dumbfounded. She clapped her hands together. Barasina, doesn't it just sound divine? I'm really glad you like it, said Vlad. You've got some lovely middle names as well, said Morosina. They're in the small print, added Vlad. Barry looked at the document. Squinting, he realized that the whole thing said, I, Barry Bennett, hereby renounce all claim to the name Barry Bennett, and any desire to ever again be called Barry Bennett, and accept fully the name Barasina, Orange, Hamlet, Bunny Cutie, Piddly Piddly Piddly, Mitt. Orange, said Barry. Like the fruit, said Morosina. Yes, I've heard of it, said Barry. Bunny Cutie? So sweet. Piddly Piddly Piddly? That was just something I threw in, said Vlad. I'm crazy like that. So, said Jonty, handing Barry a pen. It was covered in diamonds like Vlad's A communicator and steering wheel, and felt heavy in his hand. All you need to do is sign on the dotted line. Vlad and Morosina held the parchment up between them. Vlad pointed. Just there. Barry heard a murmur in the crowd. It sounded like, sign it, and then, less like a murmur and more like a chant. Sign it, sign it, sign it. Look, said Barry. It's true, although I have no idea how you found out, that I don't really like the name Barry. And now I think about it, I don't know that I actually want to get rid of it. It is my name, after all. Sign it, sign it, sign it, went the crowd, louder every time. And also, if I was going to get rid of it, I'd like a cool name, like Lucas or Jake or... Dirk, said Vlad. Barry thought about this. No, not really. Sorry, said Vlad. He put his mouth to the microphone. Are you saying that? The crowd stopped chanting. Dirk isn't a cool name? There was a mass intake of breath. Barry could feel hundreds of eyes upon him. No, it isn't. The crowd roared, but this time it wasn't a good roar. It was a bad roar. It was a bad roar, completely covering up Barry's next words. Not for me, at any rate. I'm sure other people might think so. Look, I have had enough of this, said Morosina, not smiling for perhaps the first time since Barry had met her. Sign the bloody form. Darling, said Vlad, that's a swear. No, it isn't. Well, technically it is, said Barry. The crowd started up again, low and threatening. Sign it, sign it, sign it. And this time, Vlasarina together joined in. Sign it, sign it, sign it. They moved towards Barry, one sign it at a time. Sign it, sign it, sign it. Eventually, Barasina was right in front of Barry's eyes, and sign it, sign it, sign it was all he could hear in his ears. He shut his eyes and tried to stop his ears, but it was no good. He opened his eyes. Down below, cameras flashed. Among the flashes, for a second, Barry thought he saw lit up the faces of the man and the woman who had been outside, looking at him with concern and hope, and that something else he couldn't put his finger on. But it was a long way down, and he couldn't quite make out their faces properly. Barry turned back to the parchment. All right, I'll sign it, he said. The crowd roared, a huge roar, and back to a good roar. Vlasarina looked at him with joy. They pushed the parchment closer towards him. He lifted the pen and wrote. Hip, hip, hooray, said Vlad. Thank you, Barasina, said Morosina. That's okay, said Barry. Why don't you read it out loud? I will, said Morosina. In fact, we'll do it together. They turned to face the crowd. I, Barry Bennett, hereby renounce all claim to the name... Hang on, you've crossed a bit out here. I'm very impressed that you managed to say that second part together, said Barry. Carry on. I, Barry Bennett, hereby renounce all claim to the name Barasina, Orange, Hamlet, Bunny Cutie, Piddly 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 Mitt. Barry's prospective parents looked up, their faces stamped with confusion. Clearly, No one normally ever said no to Lacerina. There was a gasp from the crowd. Imogen Labambam actually fainted, although later doctors worked out that this was due to her having eaten a dodgy smartphone. And just one bit more, please, said Barry. And, they read, I would like to be taken back to the parent agency. Signed Barry Bennett, said Barry Bennett, taking the parchment out of their hands. So there we go. That's it for Tuesday in the book. I wonder what the third set of parents is going to be like. They've not been going so well so far. It's the end of week 1 today, so I hope your schoolwork's gone really well if you're in my class, and it'd be really good if everybody could email me just to let me know how it's been going, so that when I have to do some more planning for you, I can find out whether it's gone well or if I need to change something. So it'd be really good to hear from everybody in some way. Don't forget you can email the class email address, or you could email the school if you're more comfortable doing that. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Bye.